the agenda slide completely.
However you want to do it.
Quickly.
Yeah. However you want to do it. I'm just going to pause you when I get to my introduction. But
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Are you ready to get started?
Oh, those are bright.
Don't look at the lights.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, they're like, wow. All right, guys. Good morning and welcome to the 11 a.m. Incident Management in the ARCOS platform. I am pleased to introduce you to Kevin Crawford and Bill Brackett. They're going to be speaking today. A wealth of knowledge on the stage, so don't forget to use your mobile app for questions or just raise your hand and I will find you with the mic. So, welcome.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. We are going to go through this pretty quick today. So we have a slide presentation and we have a demo. So I'm going to go through the slides rather quickly today since we're headed up to lunch. They'll be available in your application in the mobile app as the conference app for review. So those are going to be more reference, but we want to get more into the demo. So we'll just get started right away. Again, my name is Kevin Crawford. I'm product manager with ARCOS. I'm product manager for Incident Manager, and I'm also the product manager for Callout and Platform. I've been with ARCOS for about 7 years, and I was formerly a UX designer, so before I got into product, I was more in the engineering side, and I've got over 20 years experience in enterprise application design.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Brackett. Some of you may have seen me yesterday on stage. My title is VP of Platform Strategy in the resource management portion of ARCOS, and my background and how I come to this topic is I worked at ARCOS for a while and was involved with some of the early days of creation of SOS, which you heard talked about as an add-on, as well as Crew Manager. So had early participation in that, as well as working with Kevin on Incident Manager. And the other thing I'll say as we get started here is, for those of you who are considering Incident Manager with ARCOS, or even honestly another IMT activation or incident management system, or maybe you're weighing 2 different directions or 3 different directions, think about, for those of you in the room that have Callout and Crew Manager, think of what you already have in the system. So you already have a great database of employee information. Probably every single person in your organization. Many of you, if you don't have that, you have probably every field employee in your organization. You've got current phone numbers, many cases better than HR, already in ARCOS. Again, this is before going down the road of Incident Manager. This is what you're starting with. You have powerful communication tools. ARCOS is built around that. So you've got texting and mobile apps and phone calls. You've got a system of record quality set of scheduled data in the ARCOS platform. And you've got native advanced rostering capabilities in terms of calling first, second, third, who's on duty, who's alpha, beta. So that's all before you get started. Just by being in this room before going down the road of Incident Manager, you already have all that. And so we're going to show you today, as Kevin said, we're not going to torture you with too many slides, and we'll get to a demo and show you how you can leverage that going forward.
Yeah. So there's 3 basic areas of Incident Manager that I want to highlight, kind of set the stage a little bit. Some of you may not be familiar. So there's the emergency preparedness cycle. That's your pre-incident planning, where you make up your pre-incident plans and you do your staffing and you get ready for those for those incidents. You have your active emergency response. That's when the incident's happening and you're using the tool to actually respond to that and spin up your ICS teams, scale them up, scale them down, that portion and piece. And then Incident Manager also has that logging of reporting for regulatory purposes. So you can go back in and kind of see what happened and when it happened, and if you have like FEMA response, FEMA reimbursement, all those questions that they ask, what decision points, things like that. Incident Manager helps with that too. For this demo, we're really going to be focusing on that first piece, that pre-incident planning, but more specifically of that in the cycle there. You've got the plan, the organize, equip, the train, the exercise, and the evaluate and improve. Incident manager can help you with the plan by saving your plan and keeping that all ready to go and defining those ICS roles. But you want to be drilling too. You want to be doing your exercises. And that's what we're really going to focus on today, that training and exercise piece. So we're actually going to run through a live exercise in Incident Manager and how that relates kind of with some of the operational things going on in Crew Manager. And this piece, Incident Manager will help you with your live exercises. If you're doing a full enterprise level exercise, you can run that through Incident Manager. If you want to do training for new staff on your ICS team, you can use it for that. And it's scalable. So if you want to run an exercise that's just for a location or a department, or even just like a planning section or a logistics section, you can scale down your exercises so you can exercise more often and build that confidence.
Kevin, can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the things we're going to highlight, I talked about that foundation that everybody in the room already has and how Incident Manager builds on that. And what Kevin just called out is key. Because you have that foundation, Incident Manager's like taking that binder off the shelf, and you can take out an exercise binder off the shelf, you can take a real event binder off the shelf, and you can leverage all your planning with current data. And so we're going to talk about your approach, our approach here, and then again, hopefully, we're going to commit the cardinal sin of doing a live demo. So
yeah,
cross your fingers.
That's right. Everybody, we're going without a safety net. So there's a lot of reasons for exercises, and I've got these bullet points up there, and I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go through the next few slides pretty quickly, but we're going to focus on one or two items. There's reasons you exercise. The one I want to focus on here is you want to evaluate the effectiveness of your plan. It's not the things in the emergency that you haven't prepared for that get you. It's the things that you neglect to prepare for or don't foresee. Those are the things that come up in the real incidents, in real emergencies. And the more exercising you do, you reduce the instance of that. So other reasons for exercises, the one I want to focus on here is to increase the confidence and efficiency within your team. The more your team is ready and prepared, the more exercising you do, the more comfortable they are when the incident actually occurs. And I've been in organizations, I've seen people that have trained for years and have an actual incident, and still there's always something that seems to pop up. But the more you're exercising, the more frequently you can exercise, again, the less instance of those that can occur. We put up some tips here. These are kind of from FEMA, little tips for a successful exercise. You want to be able to simulate your incidents as realistically as possible. You want to practice like you play, right? You want to be ready to go. And that's something that Incident Manager can help with, is creating kind of out-of-the-box thinking, preparing for things that may never happen, but at least you'd be prepared for them. Some other tips, to conduct surprise exercises so that your team, I've seen a lot of different places where you coordinate an exercise and you get everybody ready and you're letting everybody know that there's going to be an exercise. And there are incidents, obviously storms, hurricanes, things like that are predictable. But then there are some incidents that are reactive only. An earthquake, something like that. Or, I know we were at a conference last year, the Emergency Managers Conference in Grand Rapids, and NASA is taking even solar incidents very seriously. So there may be some things that you're just going to be reacting to. So, conducting surprise exercises, making sure your team is ready to go at a moment's notice is helpful. Other tips for a successful exercise, introducing unpredictable challenges. Just putting your team, what would happen if? Because I've heard it said, that we're restoring power. we're restoring power. It doesn't matter what the incident is, we're still restoring power, it's all the same. And that's somewhat true, but I think COVID gave us, an example of, yes, you're restoring power, but now you're restoring power with constraints. You have, everybody's looking for PPE, and everybody's looking, to group their crews together and coming up with new systems that hadn't been prepared for. It was a new thing. So those unpredictable things, if you're drilling, you're exercising for that, again, you're making your organization more responsive in the case of an emergency.
And for a lot of you in emergency management or emergency preparedness departments in your companies right now, or there's some of you out there that have gone multiple companies, and that's the area of expertise. You know all this, but for those of you that might be just in operations, you've never worked on that side, maybe participated in exercises, or are really the ARCOS expert, that's our goal here today, is to show you, not remind you necessarily of some of the FEMA guidelines. You've got folks that do that, but maybe you can bring to the table to those folks what ARCOS can provide.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got some common items for evaluation of a successful exercise. Your safety protocols. A big one is technology. Being familiar with your technology that you're using to respond to these incidents. Using them in exercises and drills gets you ready and working so that your team knows what to do, how you're going to communicate, how those messages are going to be sent, and how you're going to respond to changes in your situation. If you're exercising that way, it's going to be much better when you get into the actual incident. Everybody's going to be ready to go. And I'll talk about reliability. I'm going to make a plug here for our Workbench product. Our Workbench product as a work management tool has offline capabilities. So even if your networks go down, your crews can still be working. That's a big component when you're talking about one of those constraints. If cell phone towers go down, if your communications networks go down, you still want to have a tool, you still want to have a system process in place that's going to work in those situations. And with that, we're going to go into our demo. So if we could if the AV team could transfer us over to the screen, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and start an actual incident. I'm going to show you how easy it is to run an exercise and how Incident Manager can be used to run the exercise. So the first thing I want to point out here is our response groups. These are the groupings that we have. These are your ICS structures, and these can be modular. So you can have, I'll pull down the list here. You can have your EOC, your organizational structure for your EOC. You can have electric operations. You have gas operations. If your ICS teams are running autonomously, they can each have their own grouping in Incident Manager. Now, what I've done here is I've set up a response group that's strictly for exercises. And if I go into my setup for this response group, and I look at my scenarios, you can custom design your organizational structure for really any incident. This is all customizable. You can do the earthquake, again, cyber attack. So you have a plan for all of these things, and it's clearly marked exercise. And that's going to be helpful when you're actually running your exercises so that nobody gets confused and thinks it's an actual incident. So the first thing we're going to do in kicking off our exercise here is we're going to add an event. And this is the overarching wrapper for your organization. You can create an event wrapper and tie all of your incidents from all your locations, departments, all under that. So we're going to create a new event. We're going to call it 322 Storm.
As Kevin does that, this is, those of you remember the pyramid diagram you've seen on several of our slides. That bottom foundational tier is event, right? So the idea here is once this event is created, you're going to see an Incident Manager a lot using that event. But it's also going to tie together what I'm doing in Crew Manager. It's going to tie together what's going on in call out, everything under one reporting wrapper once the event is active.
So I've got it set up now for a 322 flood. We're actually going to do a flood instead of a storm because Not a lot of people may train for that. So we're going to do that. We're going to go with a flood. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this event. Now that creates the overarching wrapper. All of the response groups can tie into that, and all of the activity and data is going to be tracked under that for reporting purposes. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our incident within this exercise response group. So I'm going to come over here to incidents, and you can see that I have, when this loads, you can see that I have no active incidents in here. If I select this event, I can pull it up, and I've got my event summary for that event. And that will show me all of the incidents for all of the response groups. So I can have this quick overview and look and see for all of my training. But for this particular demonstration, we're only going to do the one response group. So now I'm going to add an incident.
And so Kevin, for that,
Yeah.
in that example, that's a situation where you could potentially simulate 3 different incidents occurring under the same exercise, right? You can have a cyber, flood, or what have you.
Exactly. Another example, if you want to run an exercise for 3 locations out of 20, you can do that. You can scale your exercises to where you're actually running. The smaller you go, the more likely it is that you can train more often. So we're going to put the incident name, I'm going to call it the 322 Coronado flood. I'm going to make it now is the start time. And then I'm going to pick exercise flooding, and then this is where I pick my severity. So right now, for this particular exercise, we're going to start this out as a severity 2. And I'm going to add it to that existing event and tie it to that event. So now this incident is now tied to that event, and all the reporting is going to roll up under that.
So grab your life preservers.
What's that?
Grab your life preservers. We're level 2 flood, Coronado.
Exactly. We're Coronado flooding. Now this pulls up what this does. By creating that incident, that basically takes our pre-planned incident, pulls it off the shelf for our org structure. So all the roles that we have here, if I open up my navigation panel, you see all my ICS roles are in place from the plan that are all already pre-populated. You've got your documents, automatic document routings, your 208s, your 214s. Those get routed because of, again, that pre-incident planning and that pre-incident setup. Now what we're going to do is we've got our basic structure for the org chart, but we haven't activated anybody. We haven't run any phone calls yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And to do that, we have a staged activation, as we call phases. So for this particular exercise, we have our core team planning section. These are user definable. So you can activate your organization, again, as a scaled perspective. If you want to start off just by activating your planning section chief, your incident commander, you can do that. You can define that. And if I go ahead and activate this core team, you'll see I get my list of people to activate here. I've got my incident commander, my public information officer, and my operations section chief, my liaison officer. For this exercise, I can override this as well. I'm going to also add my planning section chief and activate that. Now we have a setting that will automatically ring phones, and we'll skip this entire page altogether, but I wanted to bring this up because this is an option as well where it actually can allow you to override those calls. We have the call order for each of these roles. And as you can see, I got my call order right here for that incident commander. One of the ways that incident manager can help you and with an exercise, and I'm going to show that right now, is you can attach a custom message here. And you can put in a specific custom message that's particular just for, this particular incident. You can give a message that says, this is just an exercise. This is not, a real incident. So when that call goes out, your team will know that there is, that this is not, alive. This is just an exercise. And I'm going to go ahead and move myself up to the top position, and I'm also going to decline for Chris Lay and PJ Haley. As much as I'd like to ring their phones in the other part of the building right now and surprise them, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and initiate this call-out role. And then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to activate Bill as my operations section chief. I'm going to add him right here as an employee, because again, I have full ability to add who I want.
I'm going to try to take this call out on audio with this speaker. And if it doesn't work, it's not the AV department's fault, because I didn't warn them I was going to do this.
And there's Bill.
Okay.
There you go.
Apparently, I'm going to play music.
And I'm going to move him up the list as well. My phone is ringing right now. I'm going to let that ring because I'm going to show you how I can accept that from the text message. But let me initiate this call out for Bill. And now Bill's phone is going to be ringing, and he'll play that message for you.
I think I'm still logged into the ARCOS mobile app as well, so I should get a push notification. There's my text. And you're going to accept via text? There's my phone.
There we go.
Hello?
Two 24 p.m. Press 1 if this is
Bill Brackett.
Please enter your 4-digit PIN, followed by the pound key. This is a call-out.
There is an active severity
2.
event.
You're being asked to respond as a...
Operations Section Chief.
Are you available to participate in this call? If yes, press 1. If no, you pressed 1 to accept. Please press 1 again to confirm. An accepted response has been recorded. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, so now Bill's accepted that operations section chief, and I also got a phone message, but I also got a text message as well, and I can show you that. We're not going to put that up on screen because it's only going to be a second, but it has the same basic information. I'm being asked to respond as an incident commander, and I can text 1 to accept, 3 to decline, or 5 for a qualified no. I'm going to respond 1. And now it's asking me to confirm. And my accepted response has been registered. So when these messages, these calls are going out, this incident manager is updating that information in real time live. So if I go back to my org chart now, I can see that I have 2 activated roles that are unfilled right now, but I do have roles that are filled. And as you can see, I have my name up on the screen as the incident commander. And if I click on the operations section chief, there's Bill. And I do have Bill's contact information just by clicking on the name. So all that information, again, live, real time, you have that ability to activate. You can also see your gaps very clearly. You see visually and easily who's responded and who hasn't. So the idea is that you can automate like the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your people will be automated, they'll be responding. The people that don't respond, those are the ones you're going to manually, reach out to If no one responds to that call out, you're going to try and manually then do that. But it takes off that burden of activating your team. And you can literally do it in that one click. So now we're going to talk about dealing with changing event and incident parameters, right? So just like any incident, things change over time, and you want to be able to log that for regulatory purposes. So say, for instance, we have flooding here in Coronado. We want to log any situational changes. There are new areas flooded, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and log that using the manual log entry. And we give you the ability to manually log your own items here. And these are, again, user configurable. And this is for the 322 Coronado flood. I'm going to say that we have a situational escalation. And I'm going to pick new area flooded. And I'm going to type in my note, Coronado Cays flooded. Now, if you're not familiar with where the Coronado Cays are, that's where you're sitting. But this is just an exercise, so you don't have to pull off your shoes and socks. So now that's been logged. I can also say now, because of that, I'm also going to log another operational obstacle here. I'm going to say roads are blocked, and all roads south are impassable. And save that to our log. And because of that, we have crews that are now isolated. So we're going to have another operational obstacle. And I'm going to pick, now crews are stranded. And again, this is all going into the ICS log. And I'm going to say we have 6 crews stranded. And so once I've done that and I've isolated that, because of the new flooding, I want to change that now. I want to change our structure, and we want to bring our team, we want to bring in more people to address that situation. So just this fast, I'm going to go into my severity here and change it from a severity 2 to a severity 4. And that brings up, again, from our pre-incident planning, the new organizational structure that we pre-designed as a severity 4. And we give you this ability to go through and really pick which are the new roles that you're adding and which ones you want to add. In this particular drill, we're not going to need the ground support unit leader. And then I'm going to go ahead and add these new roles. And that's how fast it is to change severity. You just expanded your team that fast. I now have 24 roles here. And now what I want to do at this point is, again, this is an exercise. I have the ability to scale and only activate the people that I'm actually testing for this exercise. So I'm going to go into my phases again, and I'm going to go ahead and activate this planning section. Because that's all I want to activate for this particular exercise. And now I've activated those roles. I'm not going to ring any phones for that, but I could do it with this Initiate All button in one click. So now, when I go back in to my org chart, you can see there's my planning section activated, unfilled. I haven't rang any phones, but they could be ringing. They could be ringing just that fast. So now part of the drill, and this is what I want to do, and I want to hand this off to Bill, is we want to move into crew manager, because what I'm going to say is I've got 6 crews that are now isolated, and I'm going to contact Bill, my operations section chief, so he can make changes in crew manager to adapt to that. So
thanks, Kevin. Yes. So with that inject coming in and with that additional flooding and the crews being stranded, my planning section hasn't come on board yet, so I'm working with the crews I already had. And I've got Crew Manager set up as sort of an operational dashboard here showing just crew counts by crew type. That's what I'm operating in. I'm going to pull up the Gantt chart real quick. All right, I do better on this mouse. And what I'm going to do is take a look at some of the crew details. So actually, before I do that, I'm going to take a look at the high-level line Gantt. So this is what I've been doing while Kevin was dealing with that inject that came in from our exercise team. I had crews already, these service crews on Coronado Island, 5 company crews and 1 contractor crew. And you can see my staff levels here. Last night, we came from a staffing level here to a rest period, and then I began to add resources. And again, you can see this. You can then divide up your crews however you want, by crew type, by region, by who's assigned to the incident and who's not. In this case, I'm just taking a look at my line chart to make sure that I got who I think I have at this particular point in time. But I need to get a little more detailed, so I'm going to dive into the details of this service crew team on Coronado. And you can see, after Kevin activated me, I already tied all the crews I was working with to that event, that 322 flood event. I mentioned that once that event, that's the base of the pyramid, once that's created, I'm now able to use that in Crew Manager for Crew Manager actions. And these are my crews, my 6 crews that I got to deal with now. I'm going to highlight the whole team, the whole service crew team in Coronado, and their location. I'm going to call that stranded now. Now, I already had that, I already obviously created that for the exercise, but that could be any sort of an alert status, does anything you want with Crew Manager, changes its color, but it's also going to send an alert to my team. I've got Crew Manager triggers and alerts set up so that my team automatically knows I've got stranded crews that need paid attention to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, now that Bill's done that, what I'm going to want to do is, in my exercise, I'm going to want to come back here to Incident Manager, and I want to log that's been completed. So I'm going to come in here to my incident, and I can do that actually in Incident Manager from any screen. I can create this log entry, and I'm going to say an operational update, and we are going to say crew reassignment is completed. And I'm going to say updated in Crew Manager and save. And that's time-stamped in the log. So now that is done, we want to toss in one of those
Injects?
injects, one of those
Right.
curveballs, right?
Right.
So this is a flooding exercise, and our plan for this flood was pre-COVID, and so now we need to know, we realize that this did not route the document for our COVID notification, so we want to do that right now. Just to be, for regulatory purposes, we want to get that done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to the incident commander role. I'm going to add an action. I'm going to say send document. That brings me to my document routing page. I've got my incident, my 322 Coronado flood. I'm going to pick my COVID-19 notice. I can send email, I can send notification. I'm going to say this is immediate routing trigger. And I'm going to say the recipient selection is the entire staff, starting with the incident commander, and add. Now when I come here and I see my org chart, you can see now I have added the documents. And if I look at those documents, there's my COVID-19 notice. So just that fast, I routed that notification to my entire ICS staff. I also want to log that I did that. So I'm going to say operational update, and I'm going to say document routed. COVID-19 notification. And save. So that log entry is now saved. And the other thing I want to do here is send a quick notification to everyone in the organization that I sent that. So I'm going to send my quick message, new COVID notice, sent, and I'm going to say SMS for this particular demonstration, and I'm going to say send it to the entire staff and send. Now Bill and I, we're both going to get
There it is.
a text message with that notification. So just like that, I can contact my ICS team, send them that notification that they can go on and log in and look at that document. So now we're going to de-escalate. I want to go into de-escalation. You could run your exercise further if you want to, but for the sake of this demo, we're going to go into our de-escalation. And I want to show you how easy it is to de-escalate in stages as well. Because obviously you want to right-size your organization. You don't want to be paying people to do nothing, while everybody's waiting for everything to finish. You have that operational control and incident manager to scale down just like you scaled up. So if I go into my phases again, it not only works as a scaled activation, it can also work as a scaled deactivation. So I've got my planning section, it's already activated. I'm going to go ahead and deactivate that, and I'm going to deactivate those roles. And now, if I look in my org chart, I'm going to see those roles are now deactivated. And when the time comes, and I'm completed with my exercise and everything's good, I can hit deactivate all, and all roles will be deactivated, and we can end this incident. So my next step is to come into my incidents. I'm going to look again at this particular one. I do want to go into, before I close this, I want to show you the log itself, the reports. You can see all the activity that we just did. Everything is all in the log. I've got my operational updates. I've got documents routed. If I can filter really quick on this view too. So if I choose operational update and hit apply, there are my operational updates that I logged. And you can see the operators right there. It'll show you who made those log entries at what time. And it's, forensic level, it's uneditable, so those timestamps can't be changed. So for regulatory purposes, they're accurate. Now, since this incident is done for this particular response group, we're going to go ahead and close the incident. And I get that little notification, do you want to close it? I'm going to say yes. That incident is now closed. But you see the event is still operational here. So I'm going to want to close that event. So I'm going to go into events.
Again, that'll make it automatically unavailable to folks using Crew Manager call out, anything else smart.
And you see here I've got my event. I can archive this event. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Are you sure you want to close it? Yes.
You can't do it because I didn't do my job yet.
You can't do it. And the reason you can't do it is because we put in that
I'm using it.
Yeah, because he's still using it. And that's a benefit, because if you have other response groups using that, you don't want to have somebody accidentally closing out your whole event for your whole organization when other incidents are still operational. so they can close out their incidents as well, and they can tie into all of that and clear all that out before you can actually close that event. So again, that's a huge time saver and a huge benefit when you're talking about reporting.
And I think we want to go to the slides next?
Yes,
Is that
yeah,
right?
we want to go
If
back
we
to
could
the slides
go back
now.
to the slides? Thank you.
Okay. So I did want to go another thing before we finish up. I think we're right on time, actually. So, but I do have some things to show from product perspective, kind of let you know the next steps of what Incident Manager is going to be worked on. And I'm really excited about this one because I think it's really powerful. So I've mocked up some screens. Again, this is kind of in works. This is not actual functionality. This is coming hopefully later this year. What we want to do is a two-way integration between Incident Manager and Crew Manager. And you can see in this screen, under each operational role, you have that Crew Manager roll-up of your resources. And again, this is a mock-up, so this is not final design, but this is kind of just to illustrate the point, where you have that connection with Crew Manager so that your Crew Manager actions and crews that get assigned are updated here in Incident Manager, and you have that operational overview. And then in Crew Manager, we have this view that allows you to see that operational overview of your ICS team and be able to drag and drop resources and even populate those roles in ICS through Crew Manager just by dragging and dropping. And then as these assignments get updated, that information, those counts will be updated in Incident Manager so that your ICS staff has the ability to see, what's changing, what's adapting in real time. And your Crew Manager and the Crew Manager perspectives, you get that specific view just for who's assigned to that one individual. So, and that's assigned to the role, not to the person. So as you're swapping out your ICS staff and your shift rotations, those assignments will still be up to date. And then what that also leads to is then we'll have the crew counts that we can populate on the overall dashboard that rolls up to the incident itself, where you see how this incident is impacting that particular response group, and even higher to the event level, how it's impacting your entire organization. And again, those would be up to the minute counts. So that's what we have envisioned for the next development step for Incident Manager. The idea is that it would give you that whole complete operational picture from top to bottom, from your ICS staff all the way down to your field workers, and then give you that dashboard reporting for your vice presidents, for the directors, the people that are wanting to have that information. And we also, I did want to say too, at the end of this presentation on the deck, I'm not going to go into it, but we've also included some links from FEMA and the IAEM for tips on running successful drills and just resources on exercises.
And I think that'll be available in the app.
It's available in the app.
Yeah.
So with that, we want to open it up for discussion, questions.
Yes, sir. Right down here.
1 second.
Yeah.
Art Romero, San Diego Gas Electric. I'm sure y'all are getting tired of me asking questions. So I understand what you just presented, and it's getting released. So when you went in to show your crews and Crew Manager that had the event, you had already created the event in the events module, right, to append as a badge to those crews prior to getting the event created in Incident Manager?
No, some of what I was doing on my laptop while Kevin was doing the Incident Manager demo was fooling around, but some of it wasn't. And my not fooling around was actually using that event that he created.
Yes.
And once I was activated as an operations section chief, I started to utilize Crew Manager.
Okay, so you still went and badged the crews in Crew Manager?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I just wanted to understand, that by creating the event in Incident Manager, that didn't automatically append to those crews in Crew Manager.
No, that's correct. Yeah. But Yeah. I was going to give this is going to be better than mine. Go ahead, Ann.
But earlier in the gentleman's presentation, right before this one, he talked about call out automatically placing those who accept the call out into a crew template. So I think that's logically, to Art's question, if we launch an event in Incident Manager and that event somehow ties to that call out for those positions that you're activating, and it's going to plunk everyone who accepts it, not the non-union side, because you're doing that by role and whatever, but if it's going to put them all in an available bucket, then for our districts, then they're just going to start assigning patrollers, assessors, whatever that is. And if we've got the automation between call out and accepting a call out to already throw them into an available bucket, we've streamlined everything.
Yeah, that's right. And the way I envisioned it was, I think Kevin talked about the COVID form and the ICS standard forms going out to the people who accepted the roles. The way I kind of envisioned my part of the exercise was that one of those documents could contain my instructions to do the following things in Crew Manager. There will be an event created with today's date. Please assign that to the crews you're responsible for, et cetera.
And right now in Incident Manager, that little drop down that I showed you, that actions drop down that had the documents and the routing and the notification, I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's also an option there for create call out. So right now that creates a generic call out that you can use, but with the Crew Manager tie-in, I'm planning to try and tie that so that you can call out the resources for that.
Which is your synchronous.
Yeah.
Which would be your crew template that you want to use,
Good job.
Good.
Hi, it's Cherie from SMECO. Under Incident Manager with the position guides, as you activate them, do the documents for their position guide automatically get sent to them, or do you have to email them to them separately once they activate?
I'm sorry, one more time?
In the Incident Manager,
Yeah.
when you activate the role,
Yeah.
the documents that are attached to that role, do they automatically get sent to them, or do you have to email them to them?
No, they're automatically attached in Incident Manager to that role.
Okay.
So when your ICS team is logging in, all those documents, that automatic routing, there's several triggers. You can do it on the activation of the role. You can do it on deactivation of the role. You can do it on like at a specific time, which is really powerful if you're going to be distributing to an external like press. You're giving a press release at like 8 and 5, that type of thing. So document routing has the ability to direct. It's not just documents either; it's files. So it can route them from a variety of different ways. And as long as that trigger is hit, those are automatic. And so I don't know if you noticed or not, like I said, we just did the one manually because it was kind of our curveball. But all of that is stored in the pre-incident plan. And if you have all that set up in your pre-incident plan, when you activate and it's set for that role activation, those documents are going.
And were you asking, like, for example, like if I took that call out and perhaps I took the call out and maybe the instructions are to check your email, would I see, were you asking, would I see my?
Right, so if you
Yeah.
accept it as the incident commander, and it had 5 documents to that, how do you have access to those
I think
documents?
can those be sent out when you accept?
They can be sent out by email too.
Yeah.
So when you
They-
accept it, you can get those
So like,
documents
yeah,
automatically
when I said
emailed?
Ops Section Chief, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways that you can distribute by email, but we really kind of want to try and get away from the email because the email, when you're sending, and that's the problem we've heard, is you're sending an email, you change the document, you send a second email, you change the document, you send another email, and everybody's looking at 3 different variations of the same document. What we want to try and do is all compartmentalize that in the system so that when you need the right document that's been updated, and we didn't go into that with this, the document updating piece, but you can see the most recent document and everybody's on the same page. And again, that's tied to the role, not to the person. So if you're looking at it from the role view, everybody's seeing that document. When the shifts change, the new people coming on board will see the same documentation. So everybody's on the same platform.
Well, and in terms of incident closeout,
Tammy.
Yeah.
In terms of incident closeout, that's really important that you have a complete incident record because the documentation's all in one place and it's not in SharePoint, in ARCOS, in email,
Right.
because if you ever get called to the mat, whether that's an insurance claim or an auditor or
Right.
having all that documentation in one place is pretty critical.
Right. And we do understand there's a lot of IT departments that have problems with, storing documents on a third-party server, like our, since we're a software as a service platform, IT departments don't necessarily want to store documents on ours. So we give you the ability to link documents as well to like a SharePoint or something. And then that SharePoint can handle like the version control from there, and you can reference that. And that's all behind your security.
Good question. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? We are a little bit over, so just want to check your watches there, but great questions. Any? Please submit your questions to this session. You have about an hour after this ends to do so. If you forget something, please take your surveys. It helps us help you. So great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.